All right, we're back for another episode of Trimet Board Meeting with Neal Berlin and Al M. And we're moving right along here, man. It looks like we're, this whole thing is 4 hours, and we're 2 hours through it. But I think there's a lot of dead space there, too. But welcome, Neal.
Yeah, you know something? Trimet would, and the board of directors would make a lot of money and maybe get more people if they had popcorn or a concession stand there.
Well, yeah, they should be doing
you know, of course, people would probably be walking out and saying, "What? I know it was free, but this is not real entertainment."
All right, let's get going. We can't go over an hour because that's when my movie stop. It won't all show up on the same clip if I go too long.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go. Let me see.
When the ridership goes down after construction, do you have any way of surveying or finding out why that ridership went down and what?
See, he's a new one. He's
ridership back.
He's one of the new ones. I don't remember what his name is.
Where did he come from, or what is his?
Let me look that up. Luckily, I know where to find the information. Trimet.org, of course. Okay, go. Okay, scroll down to the bottom where it shows you who we are. Wait a minute here. I'm on my little phone. Okay, meeting. Wait a minute. Who we are. All right. Careers, agency, doing. Let me find. Where are they? Public meetings. Where's the board of directors? Hold on. Okay, Trimet board of directors. All right. Wait a minute. What is that guy? No, hold on.
If you maybe zoom out, or they'll catch his name down below in his little name plaque.
Oh, I don't see it over there because they have this. Can you see? They have their little Trimet. I'm trying to look up. While we're watching this, I'll keep looking. They give you.
The banner is over.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably
yes,
like the plaque sensor.
Somewhere here they have the. Okay, here it is. I found it. Okay, vision. Here's the vision: to do our part in making our community the best place to live. Mission: to provide valued transit service that is safe, dependable, and easy to use. Values: do the right thing by being inclusive and accountable. All right, here's the board of directors. So let me see who he is. All right. Scrolling. Okay, this guy's name is. Let's see. Come on, where is he? Okay, his name is Keith Edwards. He's District 5, and this is a 44-year career as a union electrician. Keith Edwards broke many barriers and achieved leadership positions in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. He became the first African-American business manager of a construction local in IBEW history. He was the first African-American to serve as a member of the Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee and co-founded the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus. He was first African appointed to IBEW Local 48 Executive Board. Edwards is a community activist, has been involved in the Coalition of Black Men, the Portland Workforce Alliance, and the NAACP, where he has served as president of the Portland chapter. He also served 8 years on the Oregon Electrical Board under Governor Barbara Roberts. And he's the one that took over for what the fuck was his name? I can't even remember it. That other guy that was supposed to be the union guy. What was his name? Esmond.
Well, it should be interesting with this gentleman's background, and this is an opportunity for the union to bring up the issues of how the apprentice program is being slowly dismantled and dismissed, and
right. The last guy they had that was a union guy's name was Esmond. I don't know. Do you remember him?
Yes, he was the bump on the log at the end, who always said, "Can you give me the comparison from some other cities so I can?"
Yeah, right. He was supposed.
That was his cord that you pulled out of his side of his neck, and the same sentence always came out.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the union guy. I don't remember him even once standing up for the union. Not even once.
Well, it's not even standing up for the union. It was he never questioned anything.
No, he really didn't. He never took any kind of adversarial tone with the general manager. None of them really do.
Well,
Bethel did a little bit.
Going back to the previous comment, I must admit, in all the years, Mr. Bethel did vote no once on a contract.
Yes, he did vote a couple of times. I became anti-Bethel. Well, first of all, Bethel is a homophobe, right? The Portland Mercury did an article on him years ago, and he was against gay rights. And he also was very much a tyrant. I don't know, were you following any of this during the Lane Jensen days? You remember Lane? Do you know who he was, Lane Jensen?
Yes, I did. I actually, if you ever see, Lane and I became good friends after
Yeah, he was very tyrannical when it came to Lane. And that's when I became anti-Bethel, because he just wanted the cops to throw him out. He wanted the cops to throw Lane out of the board meeting. And if you remember the Lane Jensen days, those were the only days where there was actual controversy at the board meeting. And of course they arrested him and put him in jail, and the rest is history. All right, let's get going here.
Means to do that.
Well, let me just comment. We're still on Patrick Presser. It's funny because I was just listening to dispatch a minute ago, and there's another train wreck. This time, a train and a truck, a tractor trailer, and I mean, he just got through telling us how things are so much better, safety-wise. Well, I don't know. I don't believe him, and we just had another wreck just a little bit ago.
The reference that I made to Wes was more around on-time performance than the ridership, but yes, we do have needs to do that.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you for your presentation.
They're very polite.
So, just to your last, the last section that you covered around the trainings that are being offered to the rail operators, are we getting feedback from them in terms of how that training experience has been? Are we collecting that information and that data
yes.
to get their perspective?
Absolutely. And part of that overhaul to the training program actually included operators. At the time, there was an e-board officer from the ATU, Anthony Forcer, who I think many of you are aware of, who actually contributed.
Oh, by the way, Anthony Forrester lost the election to be reappointed.
Yeah, I gave my condolences to Anthony. If you didn't recall, I ran against Anthony. And I said to Anthony in his losing, I said, "Now you know how I feel." And he said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you came in second. You came in third." And Anthony says, "Well, how can you come in third in a two-man race?" I said, "Because I don't give a damn had the most votes. So you two split less than 50% of the votes." Yeah. And so you came in third. I said, "That's exactly what Anthony and I did." Yeah. I think there were less than 30 votes between us, and barely half or less than half of the rail operators even bothered to put the envelope back in the mail.
Yeah.
Along with support from
Did you have something else?
Membership.
Were you going to say something else?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On what changes need to be made. So we constantly get ongoing feedback at the end of each class to say, and this isn't even just limited to the rail side, to the bus side as well, excuse me, on, what did you absolutely like, what could we be doing better, and were there any gaps? So that's kind of like an ongoing continuous improvement when it comes to training.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And I just want to also acknowledge Patrick's effort and focus on this as well. It's very important. And we in the on-time performance, we even had one day, actually, we were hitting 95% on-time performance for Max, which is a record for this organization.
I don't even believe it.
It goes up and down, but the trajectory, I think, is still really positive overall. In terms of trains and buses leaving the yard on time, when we first started, we talked about 95% range. When we first started monitoring it, it was the first time in our company's history, we were in the 60s and 70%. So it just shows you over the last probably 2.5 years the trajectory of where we've come from, and thanks to all the operators and everyone's diligence to where details matter. And if you start the day well, you'll have a real good chance of having a great day overall. So real thanks to all of them. Lastly, for my report, and again, thank you for the lengthy time here today on the general manager update. I'd like to call Brian Shaw.
Al, from now on, you need to have a scratch pad and just mark down how many thank you.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
You know, we can rate every board meeting not with stars or thumbs ups, or, you know, we could just rate it by the number of thank yous.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Who heads up our whole HOP implementation program, a very complex program. He's doing a great job on this. Just look throughout the world of implementation of smart card systems. They're fraught with major challenges and such, and even stalled startups and such. This agency with Ryan and Chris Tucker and Dee Brookshire and many of the team have done an amazing job, and I compare that to other implementations around the world. So
before we get to that, I think we have one other comment.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So just briefly in regards to the quarterly data, we continue to see significant improvements in our on-time performance, which fascinates me in the sense that we're making incredible strides there, and we consistently see that align with our stakeholders, riders, their comments in regards to what's most important to them. And so I would love to continue to put it out there that as far as ridership goes, as a board member, I'm keenly interested in continuing to hear what it is that folks will find inviting to get either back on transit or start riding transit more, in the sense that we've got this decline, but everything we're doing is actually to the positive and answering the questions and concerns that the public has had. So I'm fascinated and intrigued.
Yeah, of course, as somebody who listens to the operation daily, this is hyperbole. It's not real, okay? What they say is everything is going great, but it's not. And I know that, and you know that.
Actually, this gentleman's comment, and I can't recall the board meeting, is that one day he just sat back and reflected. He says, I don't understand, after just hearing that the ridership numbers are in decline everywhere. He said, everything we have done on this board has been done to enhance and increase the numbers. Maybe we're just not doing the right thing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he actually said out loud the truth.
Yeah.
They're not doing the right thing, and maybe this entire board and this system, which has been in place more years than fingers and toes put together, should be disbanded or at least completely revamped. And it's not going to be done by those who are sitting here.
That's for sure. You got that right.
By what is it that the public wants that we're not providing, if there is a potential opportunity to do that? Because again, these statistics are dramatic increases and improvements over where we've been historically, as far as one of the greatest concerns that our riders have had. So I'm fascinated by the subsequent drop in ridership, but we're literally targeting what we've been told are the key things that we need to address to get them riding transit.
Yeah, I think in the different consultations that I've been involved with over the last, say, 100 days, it's on-time performance has come up, and and in fact that it is an important variable for our customers. And the one item, it's actually not in your report, probably should be, almost every person who spoke started off with how much they love Trimet. The light bulb went on for me as you said that. They use that almost as a premise, said, by the way, here's how you can get better. But it does get back to safety, security, presence is one of the key drivers you saw in the report. Amenities, it's extended hours. As people fit it into, they're expecting that we're on time. And I think that got eroded over a period of time, and it was raised to say, Trimet, we need to work at this and we need to be better. And I think people are acknowledging that now, that in fact we have gotten better. There's a higher propensity to rely on us. It's not showing up to the same degree. I remember when I first started here 2.5 years ago, it was articles in the Oregonian, it was front and center. I remember the first month I was here, it was a front page article in the Oregonian that actually referred to, I have choices.
What?
And it actually got to on-time performance and the reliability where it wasn't.
Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
He's talking about when he first came, the on-time performance was terrible. But I can go back and this is going back 10, 12 years ago. On-time performance when I started was in the high 90s.
Yeah, right.
And not only that, every day, almost weekly, on the bulletin board outside the bullpen was a list of every single operators with their name, their badge number, and their on-time performance for the last 6 months.
Yeah, they do that with the bus side.
And then, not only that...
They did it when I was working there, too, way back. Yeah.
And they broke it then down per line, and then they showed a combination. Well, after a while, you could look at it and see who, quote, was the problem child.
Yeah, right.
Who couldn't operate a train on time. And I'm just saying, everyone had a bad week or a couple days, which would throw them in the dumps, which would throw their on-time performance off due to an accident or a breakdown, which they had no control over.
Yeah, it's disingenuous anyway, because it's got more to do with scheduling than people. I mean,
it has to do with more with scheduling.
Right.
And they eventually eliminated all that, so the operators could never see it, and the operators couldn't really see it, neither can the public.
Yeah, exactly.
For us, but it's really around reliability. So and even when I did the Oregonian editorial board review just last week, it was not even on the discussion topic, where it was front and center before. So I think it's quietly been handled. We still have work to do, though. I think we're not where we need to be, in my mind. Part of our business plan is to stabilize this to 90%, as you've seen in our business plan. I believe over time, we can, with some other changes in our infrastructure, we can get into the 90s. I'm going to say it's somewhere 92, 94 range over time. There's still more to do. But I think it's in combination with all these other things of safety, security, more amenities, the list of things that but on-time performance is actually moving to less off the radar screen.
What you just heard is the foundation for the 2020 bond measure.
Oh yeah. Good point. Absolutely.
I promise you all this.
Yeah.
All you have to do is give me more money.
Right. Yeah. It would be. You can't believe what they say. You can't believe anything here, because there's no negativity whatsoever. That's completely out of they don't talk about anything negative ever. In all the years I've been watching these meetings, it's very little comes up negative.
Well, it's not even negative. It's my God, we've been failing you.
Yeah. It's yeah.
On-time performance is one variable. Something else that we've heard, and I think it's important for the public to know, is that on the rail side, it's that we stop too frequently, so it makes the ride long.
Yeah.
And so how can we actually speed up?
I think the average speed on the Trimet Max is what, 28 miles an hour or something? You probably know that statistic.
I don't know what it is on the Max side.
It's one of the slowest systems in the country.
The only thing that bumps it up is, there you are along the Banfield in short spurts doing sprints of 55, and then...
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, that you make up for that in downtown as you poke through.
And the solution here that they're coming up with is, we'll just eliminate stops.
Yeah.
Which they've done on the streetcar. They've eliminated, 3 or 4 stops and have picked up a total of 90 seconds on the run.
Yeah, right.
From point A to...
And I guarantee you, more than 90 people are disgruntled that they no longer catch.
Right, they can't catch it out their door. I hear you.
Point B, so that people feel that it is a worthwhile way to commute.
Correct. In fact, thank you for raising this.
If these people would commit themselves to using transit only for a month, we could give them more credibility, but none of them really understand the system because none of them actually use it on a continuous basis. So all they're hearing is what Kelsey's telling them, and so they don't really have a first-hand knowledge of what's actually going on the system.
I mean, if each of these board members actually, as you said, okay, for the next 30 days, the car stays in the driveway.
Exactly. You just ride the public transit system for everything, and then you have...
I need to go to the market. I need to get to my doctor's appointment. I need to figure out how to pick up my children. All of a sudden, you're going to realize, holy wow.
Yeah, that's it.
To me, this is a structural issue for the region, Trimet and our partners to work together on. In my opinion, it takes us too long to get across this region.
Right.
And I actually see couriers passing us in downtown on the MAX system sometimes. Because you're right, I think one of the variables is we have too many stops. And these are part of the conversations we have started with the City of Portland as our partners in this. And we have stops that are a block and a half apart. That's pretty tight when you're trying to move the system through. But we do need to look at things like enhanced transit signal priorities. Not just MAX, but also the bus system. We are caught in traffic as a region far too much, in my opinion, and we actually need to give a competitive advantage to the bus and the train and transit over the car. Until we do so, we are going to have 400,000 more people come here. We're going to have a list of things to do, but we'll probably be in a similar, I'll call modal share or market share.
I don't believe that, by the way. There are projections for another 500,000 people. I don't believe that.
I don't care about the projections per se, because right now what he's describing is a problem that has plagued these Portland transportation for over 100 years, with a quote that I think it's from 1896 about the Portland transportation trolley system. And it goes like this. You want to get somewhere fast? Walk.
And that's an actual quote from a Portland in 1896.
About 1890, somewhere around there. But you tell me what's changed.
Yeah.
And my other reflection, the best definition of public transportation was coined by Eric Severide probably over 50 years ago, which goes as follows. Public transportation is for the other guy. So I can drive my car faster.
Right, that's what The Onion did, a little piece like that. It said 99% of Americans support public transportation for other people.
Yeah, and that's from Eric Severide.
Right, I remember him.
Yeah, and he was right then, and
and it's still right. Yep.
People who work in Hillsborough and Clackamas County and others who cross through the region now for employment, and those travel times are taking too long, and so it's gonna take years to do, but it has to be part of our culture, I believe, as a collective region, including our municipal partners. Really important. Thank you. Okay, Ryan, I'm going to turn over to you on a HOP update. Again, next month we're going to see the 1-year anniversary of our public launch of the system, and there's a quick update by Ryan, excuse me.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Once again, Ryan Shaw, Director of Revenue Operations and Electronic Affairs.
Let me do my psychic.
Okay.
I feel that this is going to be a very positive delivery, and then the numbers will just be outstanding, and the success we do. Go ahead, roll it. I'm not sure I'm going to be correct.
Wanted to give a warm welcome to all of you this morning, especially our new members. As part of your introduction here today, I wanted to give you a brief primer on the HOP system so you can put into context the quarterly reports you'll be seeing going forward. So, for starters, HOP FastPass is
What's that?
What you was politely describing is a lobotomy for the new members.
contactless fare collection system. It's easy to use. You take a card like this and you tap it on one of our card readers, either as you're boarding the bus or as you reach the platform for Max. You can add stored value to that card through many convenient sales channels. We have a website, mobile apps, over 400 retail stores.
You do know that the point is to completely eliminate cash fares. Everybody's going to have to use the HOP card at some point in the future. You know, that's part of the cashless society that they want to shove down our throats. And starting with public transportation, that's a captive audience to implement something like this.
Throughout the region where you can buy a card and load value to it. It is a regional partnership between Trimet, C-Tran, and Streetcar, so all three agencies work together to bring that to the region. And it is an account-based system, and that's different from a lot of the card-based systems you've seen across the country previously. Key features of an account-based system would be real-time loads and balance protection. If you go to New York and use one of their cards and you lose that card, your value on that card is lost. Here, it's an account-based system, so I could go home, report my card lost or stolen, get a new card, and transfer that balance over. So it's a good key feature. In addition to accepting HOP cards, we also accept taps from mobile wallets like Apple Pay or Google Pay, and contactless credit cards, as well as virtualized smart cards on a mobile phone, which I'll touch on a little bit more in a second. HOP also offers...
Now, you do realize that a lot of the people that ride the transit system don't have access to any of that.
Right, they don't have...
right, you know...
Google accounts.
Yeah, we're talking about, the bus people, the hardcore, the bottom level of the economic system, those people, they don't have any access to any of that.
And some of them don't actually even have bank accounts.
Right, absolutely, that's absolutely the truth. They can't even open bank accounts. A lot of people, they won't even let them. You know, they've had bad checks or whatever. So there's a whole strata of riders that are not going to be able to use this. That they don't talk about, of course. But we saw them as transit operators, especially in the bus side, the transit-dependent bus side. The people that are society rejects don't have access to any of this. Whoops, sorry about that. All right.
Fare capping, which is available for a day or a month pass, and electronic transfers between the regional partners. And fare capping, just to refresh everyone's memory, is the ability to earn a day or a month pass as you ride without having to have that upfront cost at the beginning of the month. So you get the benefit of the savings of a monthly pass without having to come up with $100 at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
As part of the general manager's update that you received the quarterly report that I mentioned earlier, and I'll walk you through some of the highlights of our most recent quarter now. As Doug mentioned, Trimet was the first transit agency in the world to offer a virtual fare card with Google, and that allows customers to tap and pay using a virtual HOP card on their Android smartphone. This means customers can get a HOP card conveniently without having to visit a store. They can do it from the comfort of their couch, on their way to the bus stop. It's really as they go. Riders simply download the app and go through 3 steps in order.
but maybe in the very narrow sense of how they define being number one.
Yeah, I don't know what she's talking. I don't know where she got that. Who knows?
To create and add that virtual card to their phone, and then they can use it just like they would use their physical card. And I can show you here. I don't know if you can see from back there, but this is my mobile wallet where I have all of my virtual cards provisioned. You can, Google allows you to add a credit card so you can tap and pay that way. And our partnership with them allowed us to add this virtual hop card with that cute little animation.
Oh, I see what she's talking
and you
about.
can just tap this on the readers just as easily as you would this card, load value to it in all the ways I mentioned before.
Well, once again, I just want to mention that probably a third of Trimet riders have no access to smartphones, bank accounts. We have no idea how to use this technology, and that's absolutely never discussed, ever.
So we launched this feature in April, and since then virtual card taps are representing 2% of taps on the system, which is close to the number of taps we get for mobile wallets and things. And that's impressive because it's only available on the Android platform, and contactless payments are available on both Apple and Android. So we see this being a really popular feature going forward. On to some more general statistics. As of April, Hop has collected now almost $13 million in sales to date, $2 million of which occurred in April. Contactless bank payments such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay, they're holding steady at roughly 2%, which is still the highest in the nation that we've seen.
2%?
Our rider support call center remains quiet. We've added over 250 organizations to our institutional program. Customers can now load cards at over 400 retailers across the region. And as a result of that, as Doug mentioned, we've started to phase out some paper
it's superfluous information
products at those retailers, with the exclusion of Lyft paratransit paper that is still available because the integration with Hop has not been completed. That said, the Hop system integration with Lyft paratransit has completed its preliminary lab testing with really encouraging results. Testing of ticket vending machines, or you'll also hear them called TVMs often, that has started, and we're testing to see if they can sell limited use Hop tickets, and that's going very well. So today they vend paper passes. In a short period of time they will vend limited use paper Hop tickets with the same chip that's in the extended use card. Also, as was mentioned earlier, the low-income fare beta testing has begun, and that will be using the Honored Citizen Hop card as well. Over the next few months, you will see the following initiatives roll out. Ticket vending machines, or TVMs, will begin to start testing the Hop sales in the field. So our beta will look like several TVMs in the field actually vending limited-use Hop cards to customers. A continuous expansion of our retail network. We're targeting at least 500 locations across the service area. Moving the low-income fare program into a full public launch state, and that's happening shortly. And finally, the rollout of additional Hop Hop cards to additional institutions and employers. There are additional graphs in the report that was submitted as part of the GM's update if you guys would like further information. And just to note that in September we'll be providing some new and improved information there. 1 year after launch, it's time for us to look at our key performance indicators and make sure that we're telling our story accurately and in the best way we can. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Any comments? Neal?
I have no comment. I'm waiting to hear if any of these people will speak up.
Okay.
Place your bets.
My board.
Okay.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, mostly, first of all, thank you very much for the overview. I appreciate the intro. And hats off, frankly, to the program itself in looking at how similar sort of programs roll out in other cities around the country. It's clear you covered a lot of bases in this rollout, and so hats off to really looking at how to position this in a very successful way. So to that end, I'm curious, is there any talk at this point about not only releasing to individuals, but to have any partnerships with employers and agencies that might be able to offer this sort of at a macro level as a benefit to staff?
Yes, absolutely. So, first, thank you for the kudos. It's very much appreciated, and this is a big team effort.
By the way, that guy is called Osvaldo Ozzy Gonzalez. Has particular knowledge as he has worked on capital projects with the agency since 2012, providing professional design services through his role at CH2M Hill. So he is a insider public transportation
oh my gosh,
technocrat.
One of the big,
right.
One of the big companies that benefit from Trimet Capital Project.
Yeah, CM2H Hill is a huge recipient of U.S. government welfare. They take a lot of money from a lot of places, and public transportation is huge for them.
Spanned almost 10 years, so thank you. We have already 250 organizations on board, so employers, agencies on board using the HopCard program, and we plan to continue to expand that over the next 18 months to 2 years.
Thank you.
Gee, did we forget to mention that before we had this expensive system, we printed up a bunch of little stickers and they just put it on their ID?
Yeah, right.
Let's see.
No, they just overcomplicate everything. That's just, it's just government. Yeah.
That must have cost us at least $1,000 to print up the sticker.
I just see this as, another capital project, wasteful government tracking system, which is what it actually is.
Tracking is the key word.
Right. It's tracking more than anything. And it's millions of dollars of taxpayer money into capital projects and planners and all of it's the same old story over and over again. Reinventing the wheel so that they can feed capital projects again.
Follow-up question to that. Any nonprofit agencies that are also a part of the Hop Pass you're partnering up with?
They're part of that 250, yes.
250, huh? Yeah. That's a little...
Well, thank you.
Well,
congratulations to her and her team.
That was useless
The great story continues.
The great story.
If you will. So more to come.
Another thank you.
Mr. President and members of the board, that concludes my report for the day, and I apologize for the lengthiness of it, but I think there's some really important topics here today that I really wanted to get in front of you. So
there definitely was. Thank you very much for your report. How are we doing here? Before we get into the regular business meeting, do we need to take a 5-minute break? I'm seeing people nod their heads. So let's take a 5-minute break and come back into our regular business part of our meeting.
And there's J.C. Vanetta. He's still around. Right there. See him? Let's move it forward here. We can just skip that. All right. Keep moving. There we go. And they're back.
All right. Let's move on then, onto our consent agenda. And for the new members and for anybody in the audience or at home watching this, the items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. However, any board member may remove an item from the consent portion of the agenda for discussion or questions by requesting such action prior to the consideration of this portion of the agenda. Today we have...
So what they're going to do now, and this is what I call Trimet pork barrel time. This next segment of the board is where they hand out money to the corporate welfare clients, which
and to any project that has already gone over budget.
Right.
They need some more money.
Right. That's right. They just give you more. All these contractors have to do is come back, and they routinely hand out more. No questions asked. This is government pork. That's what it is. No matter how you want. This is the part of government that nobody ever talks about in the media. Nobody.
We have a very light consent agenda. We have 2 items. First is the approval of the board meeting minutes for May 23rd, 2018. And then second is a resolution confirming Trimet Board of Directors committee appointments, which I think all the board members have been consulted on. So is there any item on the consent agenda that any member of the board would like to have removed for consideration? Seeing none, then, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Attaboy, get right in there.
Second.
All
any further discussion? And I know some of the members here were not present for the May 23rd meeting, so an abstention vote is okay. I think we have enough folks to approve the consent agenda. So with that, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay, so the motion is approved. Let's move on to our resolutions. We have a number of those.
Here we go.
The first resolution on today's agenda is Resolution 18-06-040-48, which is authorizing a modification to a contract with J.E. Dunn Construction Company.
Yeah, here's our first give me more money one.
For construction manager / general contractor services for the Powell Bus Garage Replacement Project. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board.
Neal, do you have any opinion about the Division Street project that they're shoving down our throat?
Oh, the one that's going to, with the bus?
Yeah,
thing?
right. Well,
yeah. Do you really think that's going to work?
Well, yeah, it's going to suck up $400 million of taxpayer money that will go to...
I think we started off at $72 million.
Is that what it was? And now it's $400 million. Most of that's coming out of that tax grab, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And when we get done, the only thing I can think of that'll make it work is that anyone living along the street, when they reach out in the morning, if they still get a newspaper delivered, better watch out, because there's going to be a bus coming right at your head there.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they have in mind here. I know that they...
I mean, there are so many people who have testified in public and at these outreach meetings saying, they belong to the same club I do. I told you so.
Yeah.
And none of these people will admit that they're too far into it, too much money.
Oh yeah, it's just another pork barrel. That's what it is. And Trimet is run by Capital Projects. That's the number one. That's where most of the attention goes. And it's a juggernaut that's not going to stop. I mean, that's...
As I said, Trimet is not a transportation company agency. It is a capitalization Ponzi scheme.
Yes,
we just need to keep building. It doesn't matter what.
Exactly.
And don't worry about maintaining it, because we're on to the next project.
Exactly.
As you know, Portland is Portland area is in the midst of a very significant building growth boom. Our construction services and resources are challenged, and as a result, costs in some cases, particularly on the commodity side, are rising rapidly. This resolution before you seeks to mitigate some of those costs through a contract modification with J.E. Dunn Construction Company for construction manager, general contractor, what we refer to as CMGC services, specifically for the Powell Bus Garage Replacement Project. The board approved a resolution to award a contract to J.E. Dunn for pre-construction purposes at its April 2018 meeting.
It wasn't even that long ago.
Since then, the board approved 2 other modifications to the contract to add services.
So this is the third time they've come back now. This is number 3.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And do you want to bet this will not be the last?
Yeah.
Because in the end they'll say, "Oh, and you wanted a roof on all of this? We didn't figure on a roof."
Expenses, etc. Trimet and J.E. Dunn are working to establish a total...
use the lost and found umbrellas to keep themselves dry.
Contract price for construction services, that we can modify the contract once more and give notice to proceed with the work on this very large, complex project. The process is ongoing and moving forward. However, we do not expect the present board with the total the contract price until July or August as we work through the details.
They don't know what the price is?
I mentioned the rising costs and would like to give you one example as a reason for bringing this before you today. Between April and June of this year, the cost of structural steel, the commodity of structural steel, has more than doubled from $3,800 per ton to more than $8,400. In this market, the pricing is only good from our suppliers for a 30-day period.
I don't get it. When they awarded the contract, they were aren't they supposed to buy the materials at that time? When they awarded the contract at whenever it was, I would assume that would mean whoever the contractor is would go out and purchase whatever materials they need at the time that they got the contract. And what he's saying is, well, they haven't purchased the materials yet, and now 4 months has gone by and the price has just doubled out in the last 4 months. I have never heard of any place but government where you can put in a contract with somebody and come back for more money without even a question. It's just government that operates like this.
Yeah, and I bet you not one board member is going to say, well, why ask the question you just expounded upon? Why didn't they buy it?
Right, when the contract was awarded, why didn't they buy what they needed?
Are anticipating to continue to escalate.
No place to store it.
Whatever lame shit.
Market pressures, material demand, and the threat of added tariffs.
Now the tariff. So they couldn't buy it when they got the original
contract. To minimize further cost escalation risk, Trimet's requesting before you that the contract be modified at this time so that J.E. Dunn can secure subcontracts for the site work, utilities, demolition, materials, and labor subject to the volatile market conditions. I'd like to also maybe call up Steve Witter and Dan Sosnowski in case any question you have. So this early work package, what you'll find is allow Trimet to finalize these negotiations, minimize the additional bid market risk that's in front of you, seen as an example today, and identify further opportunities for value engineering, which you've already done on I think a couple times actually, before presenting the board with the final total contract price, again, July or August board meetings anticipated. The resolution would authorize modifying J.E. Dunn's contract to include early work and procurement packages for a total of $29 million.
Oh, jeez.
The Powell Busker
Here, we need an extra $29 million.
Replacement projects included in our fiscal 18-19 capital program budget, so that's already captured. For the reasons already discussed, that is what the recommendation before you today is. So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, J.E. Dunn, does that stand for just easily done you in again?
Yeah.
The increase in the price of steel really is a shocking figure and very concerning. When we say that we're locking in the prices, does that mean we're taking delivery of components?
Okay. She asked the question. That's what I just said. Are you buying the fucking shit or not? So good for her.
We wouldn't be taking delivery, but we would be putting that scope of work under contract, and so the delivery is out in the future, but we would be able to lock down that price.
Oh my God!
Now, and that's for not only the material but also the fabrication and installation. So we're not just locking down the commodity pricing; we're also locking down the labor and contracting pricing for that.
Okay, so they're going to so when they give them the money this time, they're going to lock it down. Last time, sorry, we didn't lock it down last time, but
so is it this gentleman's oversight of not doing that?
Who knows, man? I mean,
is this the first contract that this kind of issue has come up that said, you guys need to lock this down right away?
Exactly. Right, and this is the kind of thing we see all the time here. This is not new stuff. We see this all the time.
This is old stuff.
Yeah.
But these guys are old players.
Right.
I am about to lose my battery here.
Okay. All right. Well, this is good.
And you'll have to finish this up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cut out. I'm
watching. It is not the battery to a pacemaker.
Okay. All right. We're
late for some.
All right. I'll see you later, Neal.
All right.
Thanks, man. All right, take care. All right, well, that's a good place for me. That's a good place for me to end it anyway, because we're getting close to 48 minutes. This is an old story here. The board and these contractors constantly coming back for more money, and you know how I feel about that. I feel it's a racket. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think it's a racket. I know it's not just public transportation that pulls this shit. Every government function pulls this same shit. And it's a way to extract wealth from the citizens and capture it for the elites. That's what's happening here.